Okay, bang, here we go. Let's call the meeting to order. This is the Town of Long Beach Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting, Tuesday, September 8th, 2020, 7 p.m. We are in the Long Beach Community Center Gymnasium. This is being handled by Zoom video conference. The information for that conference is on the town website. The Town of Long Beach's zoning code imposes restrictions determined by the town council to be necessary to protect the interests of the community as a whole. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial body that provides a forum through which property owners can seek relief from the strict requirements of the zoning code or from a decision by certain Long Beach officials charged with enforcing the zoning code. It is the role of the BZA to perform the public function of protecting the public interest while facilitating improvements and investments in a manner that is consistent with the intent of the zoning code. The decisions of the BZA are with respect to the laws and ordinances in place. As a quasi-judicial body, the BZA operates more like a court than a legislative body. With that said, I welcome everybody to tonight's meeting, and I will turn to our secretary, Meg Collins, and ask her to please call the roll.
Chairman Michael Gorman.
Here.
Board member Rachel Joseph. Here. Meg Canyon. Here. Barb Morgan.
Barbara.
Doug Wickstrom.
Here.
The council, Chris Willoughby. The secretary, Meg Collins here. Building commission representative, Bob Lane.
Here.
So thank you. We have your members present, a quorum, so we shall proceed. If you'd all rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item of business on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We all have in front of us, and we have seen the July 14th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. At this point, can I get a motion and a second to approve those minutes? Motion by Mr. Wickstrom, second by Mr. Jurczyk. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, call for a voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's a unanimous vote, so those minutes are adopted. Thank you. Old business, just one item for the board's attention. I spoke to Bill DeFuniak, and he will work with Meg Collins, and we will finally get ourselves an updated copy of the zoning book. I know that Doug has never received one as one of the newer members, neither has Barbara Morgan, and the rest of us have a 2015 version. So Meg Collins will work with Mr. DeFuniak to get us an updated book, so hopefully we will have that in short order. So thank you, Meg. New business, there is none, so we will move on to the preliminary hearings. There are 3 preliminary hearings on today's agenda. The purpose of a preliminary hearing is for the petitioner to expand upon what he has submitted to us with any information he wants to provide to us. We've already, obviously, each of us have already read and studied over the documents, and that's to be assumed. So we just want additional information on whatever the petitioner wants to provide at the end of the preliminary hearing. The board will either set the matter for a public hearing or opt to continue the public hearing. If the board feels that we need additional information from the petitioner in order to deliberate and think about this, then we will tell the petitioner what is additional that is needed. And then in that case, we would continue the preliminary hearing until the next meeting. So with that said, I'll turn to the first preliminary hearing, which is for Tom and Eileen Ruby of 2003 Idlewood Trail. It is a developmental standards variance petition requesting a variance from requirements of section 154, 134 non-conforming residential dwelling alteration permitted. Petitioner is seeking a home renovation that includes a volume increase. And the preliminary hearing is open. So is someone here representing the Rubies on our Zoom call? I think if someone's there, you got to unmute yourself. Speak up, please. I see someone with their mouth moving, but no words.
Sorry about that. I'm Tom Ruby.
Good.
And
Okay.
I'm here hopefully to represent us. I thought my wife was going to be on the call. But yes, we are asking for a variance. We've owned the home for over 30 years. What we're looking to do is very, very briefly,
this is why we need a renovation, because we don't fit in the same room. Sorry.
And so what we're doing is we have, I can't read all that. I don't think they want all that. We are taking on a project of replacing our roof and replacing our garage. Both items need to be replaced. And as part of that, we also asked for some architectural drawings to be put together for our home. We intend to use this home as our permanent residence and spend our declining years here. And as such, we need some modifications made. And with that, some of the architectural plans have called for replacing the existing roof with a pitched roof, which would increase the volume. And then what we were looking to do is build a room on the deck that is above the garage and a portion of the deck that's on the garage, and design it in such a way that it ties into the roof that we're replacing. So basically those are two volume issues, and that's what we're looking for approval on.
Okay. For your benefit, and you know this already, but for the benefit of the other petitioners and the public, in order to be granted a variance, there are three standards which must be satisfied. And that is the developmental standard variance has to not be injurious to the public health, not be affect neighboring property in an adverse manner, and the fact that the zoning code would prevent you from, it would result in practical difficulties in the use of the property without this variance. So those are the standards that this board will consider in each of these preliminary hearings, and that's the light under which we will review what you just said and the submissions that you have. Is there anything further you'd like to say at this point?
I would be specific to say that a few things I would add would be that when we bought the house 33 years ago, we were in compliance with everything. So the non-compliance status is through no action of our own. I know that's not your problem, but I feel like that needs to be said. And the other thing I would add is that we are not looking to increase coverage. We are looking to add space under existing roofed area for the most part. And there is a small area where we would be creating a roof where one does not exist currently. We have been told that there's a distinction there that may matter to some people. I don't know that if that's true.
Okay, well, with that, let me turn the matter over to the members of the BZA for any questions or comments they would like to make. Does anybody want to comment on the petition in front of us? Mr. Wickstrom?
I have a question about the amount of volume. Reading the submission, there are drawings that show the approach to this and so forth, but in past, in the limited time I've been on the committee, when we've had previous approvals, they have listed explicitly the amount of volume that was being requested and was approved. And so I'm curious if it would be possible, if, first of all, if it's to you, Mike, if it's necessary to have more detail in terms of the volume that we would grant, and second of all, if that can be provided to us.
Is one thing you're referencing about the fact that what we've been provided are basically some pictures and sketches versus actual building plans?
Yes, I mean, and they are sufficient to convey the concept and the approach and so forth. And that's really not where the source of my question is. The question is related to the amount of volume that would be increased for the building. Because in previous cases, we've been quite specific about the amount of area and the amount of volume that this group has approved. And we don't have that information at this particular point.
Well, the petitioner in his filing was specific to, I thought, a sufficient degree where he asked for 165 square feet. Now, granted, I know the numbers he's using is a linear number. It's length by width, I presume. The volume includes height also. But he's got 165 plus 500 square feet. So he's asking for 665 square feet of volume increase by whatever the height is. He's not providing us with height. Am I answering? Am I going in the right direction?
Yes, but in order to get the amount of volume, you would have to calculate that. And what I'm asking, I guess, is that an element of detail that we feel that we need to ask for in order to process this?
What do you feel is missing from what he's given us? He's given us 65 square feet.
Right, but he hasn't given us a number of the height. I mean, he's given us a graphic.
He hasn't given us the height.
Right.
Right. Mr. Ruby, is it correct? You've not been to the building commission?
We have had many conversations with the building commission, but they have not responded specifically to anything that we've given them other than to say that they can't really act upon any of our proposals without going to the BZA. But I think I might be able to address some of the questions. I don't think that it was not my understanding.
Let me first finish that point about the building commission. You've not submitted a building permit application, correct?
It's very hard to hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Let me just.
We do not have construction drawings that are permit ready.
So you've not submitted a building permit application. So they've not. It sounds like they've had conversations with someone, but they've not submitted an building permit application.
Right. I understand that. This is more a question about procedure.
So the way I look at this, is they laid out in a picture as opposed to a building plan with dimensions that you can. I can't verify these dimensions anywhere. That's a question, but I don't know that it's an impediment as far as the way I'm looking at this. They've laid out the amount that they want to increase these two areas. What I don't have is the height. Okay, so I feel that we would be in a position to consider this based on these numbers, and it's up to the building commission to make sure the height complies with whatever the building code is. We're not here to measure we're not here to approve a building permit or a building plan. They want to know whether they can increase, and they're asking for an increase in volume. Okay, and then Mr. and Ms. Ruby, you stop me if I'm wrong. They're asking for an increase in volume. They're not asking for an increase in footprint. There is no increase in footprint. So that makes it clearer. They're just going straight up with these two things. How high can they go? They haven't been in the building. They haven't been told.
I'm not really asking about how high they're going. I'm asking about the amount of volume that they're adding. And we've been quite specific in the past about saying it's this much area. And it is possible to calculate the volume. And so I'm just curious if that's something that we're concerned about. And if I guess you're telling me, no, we're not.
No, I am concerned. We need to grant a variance, we have to be specific, right? That's what we've done all along. Have they given us dimensions for the area of the increase?
Yes,
So what do we miss?
the volume.
Which in order to get it, we need height.
But it's it's not 1 point. You have to calculate it, the difference between the existing building. And I'm not willing to argue that that is material. I'm asking if that is a part of the process that we need to go through.
Well, isn't that something we could ask them?
Well, they've got the building commission in their plans. They don't have
We
it.
could ask for that at the public, for the public hearing. If we move to a public hearing, we could have that.
Well,
Ask for that.
in order to get it, they're going to prioritize as building plans.
I don't know.
All right, what more do you feel we would need from them? Because you tell the rooms what you think.
If we were going to ask for this, it would be a approximate calculation of the amount of volume that would be added to the building.
So for them to do that, they need the height.
Approximate. I mean, we're not going to calculate it to the cubic inch. So,
Okay, I got you. So the number that they're asking for is 650 is, and I made that point, that these are linear feet.
square feet.
Square feet, but it's linear, it's length times width, it's not height.
Right.
So we need to get from them the actual volume.
Yes, an increase. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The increase in volume. We're doing the increase in area. Should we also ask for the increase in volume?
Well, you need the increase volume, that's the subject of this variance request, or volume increase.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, so, Mr. O'Malley,
What you need is cubic.
cubic, well, cubic feet, well, we need a height.
Right, but it's gonna be average height because of his roof. But that should be easily calculated by somebody who's familiar with,
Well, we can have it specified as part, if we approve a variance, as part of the process with the building permit.
Well, Doug is making the point, I think, that we need to get that in the variance. I was approaching this, and we didn't need to know the exact volume increase, but I think the point's well taken.
If we don't ask for that kind of detail, then another way to get at it is to say in accordance with the height shown here, which would not give them any flexibility then to modify it before it goes to the building commission.
Except there's no height issue.
No.
I mean, right? There's no numbers. That's part of that, that's one thing we struggle with. So, one way to cure this, in order to move forward, these folks is to, are we comfortable in telling them they need the actual volume number for the public hearing?
Yeah, I guess,
Yeah. Any other discussion here? Are you comfortable moving forward towards a public hearing with that not having been provided ahead of time?
yes.
Okay. The difficulty that might create for Rubies is they need to send out letters to notice the residents within 300 feet. And that has to specify what they're asking for. So time-wise, they need to get this information quickly in order to get these letters out. Mr. Ruby, you understand what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. If we move forward and set this for a public hearing, you would have to include in your request to us and in your letter that you send out to property owners, the exact variance that you're asking for. And that's a volume increase, but it's not 650, it's whatever the cubic foot would be, as Bob LeMay has pointed out. Will you be able to provide that to us?
May I ask some questions back in order to give you a fair answer?
Yes.
I understand the question and the difference between square feet and cubic feet. The difference, the additional dimension there is what you're looking for is ceiling height. So one could say that if the standard ceiling height is 8 feet, then you can get the volume number by multiplying this square footage by ceiling height. But if you want to pick up the little corners of the gables and, the non-usable space that's, tucked in under the knee walls and, in the little pointy part over your head, is that the volume that you want calculated? Because that will require a different kind of geometry.
It would require building.
Are you looking for ceiling height, like interior volume, or are you looking for exterior volume?
No, it's interior. It's interior.
No, it's volume of the structure, but I don't think it's necessary to include all the volume that's in overhangs and so forth. So it's the volume of the building, and the difference would be the difference between the planes of the current roof and the planes of the proposed addition.
Yes, we can.
There is a volume that is described.
Oh, okay.
We can do that arithmetic. However, I would also then like to clarify when, at least according to the Indiana Building Code, you are allowed to count square footage of your house if the ceiling height is at least 7.5 feet. Right? If we are having a roof that is pointy and we're putting a room in an attic, there's the potential that some of the walls will be slanty enough that they will not be 7.5 feet. They will not give 7.5 feet clearance. Do you want to know all of that interior space, or are we talking about what is our interior usable square footage being added to the home?
The ordinance requires an accounting for volume. And so I think it's the volume of the existing structure is going to be increased by this amount.
But we're not answering your question. Okay, and I don't think we're able to answer our question. This is the problem with what we have in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but conceptually, what we're looking.
What our number is not supposed to be conceptual.
We can certainly do that math and present it to you for whatever purpose, whatever help it is.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Do you want to repeat that, Mrs. Ruby? Mrs. Ruby, you want to repeat?
We can certainly do that math and present it to you for whatever use it is.
I still didn't.
She said they're able to do the math and present it to us for whatever the use it is.
This is just a very simple thing. All it is the volume of the building.
Well, I think Bob LeMay made a point about average height. Is there some way you chime in to answer the question to beat up some direction? Without a building plan in front of us, we don't have dimensions. So,
if it's got a gabled roof above it, they should be able to calculate the area of the triangle and then the length, multiply those two, and they'll know how much volume there is above their ceiling in that room.
okay, I understand that.
Yeah, that's all I'm interested in is the current structure has one volume. We're talking about an increase in volume. Let's just quantify that.
So we need to calculate, in order to answer your question, you want us to calculate the volume under our existing low slope roof and include that in our current home volume calculations.
Yes, your existing building has a volume.
Right.
And
Correct.
you're going to increase it by some amount.
Right. Because we're interested in the increase.
Yes. And I know it requires thinking that through a little bit, but we're not going to check your math. I mean, you're going to tell us what it is, and that's what's going to be the basis of this.
Well, and as the basis, if this matter proceeds and if a variance were to be granted, which we're not discussing it at this point, that's what's going to go to the building commission.
They will check it, yeah.
The building commission will check and will be bound, they will be bound by those numbers within whatever leeway the building commission provides, right?
Yes.
Okay. So in order to move forward and set this for a public hearing, you will need to do two things. Provide us with documents detailing the amount of volume increase for this project, which is the height, adding the height element to this square footage which you gave us. And then number two is you will need to include that volume increase number in your information that you put out for public notice. Is that right, Chris? Okay. You understand, Mr. and Mrs. Ruby?
Yes.
Okay. So we're comfortable. It sounds like we will be comfortable to move forward and set a public hearing. Okay. Okay. So with that, do I hear a motion to set the Ruby petition for a public hearing at our October meeting? And the date will be what? What is the date of the October? October 13th. So the meeting will be second Tuesday on October the 13th of October. Set this for a public hearing on October 13th. I heard your motion. Motion by Ms. Canier, second by Mr. Wickstrom. Any discussion? We should file with the town clerk's office 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks prior to the October 13th meeting, whatever documentation you're going to give us to verify, to explain the actual volume increase. And you'll need to have that information for your notice to residents. Okay. All right. All in favor? Aye. So we have 4 in favor. So this matter is set for a public hearing. Just for your information, please pay attention to BZA Form 12, which is the petitioner checklist for public hearing that covers the requirements for notice to residents within 300 feet. It also covers the on-site notice sign, and it covers the information about payment for publication. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We shall move on. Thanks for clarifying that, Doug. Okay. Okay, we shall move on to our second preliminary hearing this evening, and that is for Brian and Daniel Honer, 2002 Somerset Road. It is a development standard variance petition requesting a variance from the requirements of 154-127 residential single non-conforming lot of record in any district Petitioner is seeking to remodel and make permanent a pre-existing three-season room on the front of the residence. And the preliminary hearing is being opened tonight. So who is representing the Horners?
I am Brian Honer.
Owner? Okay, Brian. Is there anybody else speaking for you or just yourself?
My wife Ellie is here as well.
Okay, good. I'll let you flesh out what you are going to do and what additional information you feel we need to know.
So basically, we're taking a pre-existing three-season room on the front of our house. It does not have heat or electric running to it at this point, and we're looking to make that a part of our home to increase the function of our and flow of our home. And at this point, the usability of the lot. I did have some questions as well. With the ordinance that we were looking at, the 154.127, the lot is non-conforming because the lot is smaller than 12,000 square feet. It's 9,700 and change. And then in that ordinance, it does read at the end that as long as the proposed remodel does not exceed or add to the nonconformity, such as height, building height, maximum lot coverage, building size and width, or street access, that it shouldn't hinder the ability to get a building permit. I was just looking for some clarification on that. But the ultimate reason is that we're making a part of our house that is not heated or has electric, making it a part of the house to increase the function and allow us to use that year round as opposed to seasonal.
Okay, anything further at this point?
I think
If
that's
not,
about it.
I will turn this over to the board members for discussion. Let me first state for your information, your petition, as you stated, you're requesting a variance from 154-127. 154-127 doesn't apply to your property. 154-127 applies to constructing a house on a non-conforming lot. You're not constructing a house, you have a house on a non-conforming lot.
Okay.
So you have the wrong section. You also say in your petition, you're looking to increase lot coverage, okay? Looking at the drawing, the site plan which you provided us, the site plan by Shander Remodeling. Okay, this site plan, and the site plan states that the existing lot coverage is 28% and the proposed lot coverage is 31.5%. Lot coverage under the code is 35%. So in both cases, but under your remodel here, you're still underneath the 35%. So I don't see, and anybody else can chime in, I don't see an issue with your lot coverage. What it appears to me is you have a non-conforming building. It is on a lot that's too small. And that's because the zoning code was changed after your house was built. So your house is fine as it stands. But when you want to make changes to a non-conforming house, you have to comply with the code. And in this case, that's 154-134 is the section that you should be looking at, Mr. Horner. What you're doing, looking at your drawings here, this site plan, is you're increasing footprint and volume. You're pushing your house out to the front, and you're adding, to the front, which would be out towards the street. And you're also adding what's called on this plan here, a proposed, a closet, and that's to the, let's call that to the, what would that be, to the east side of your property. So you have footprint increases for both of those pieces of construction. And with that increase in footprint, of course, comes volume. And you've heard our discussion about volume. So I think you have to rethink what it is that you're asking for. Do you understand our point?
Yeah, no, I'm following you. That's why I needed some clarification out of that. I didn't understand the fact, if it was on, the building was pre-existing before that was, it was conforming prior to, and then became non-conforming once it became a non-conforming lot. Is that what you're saying?
It's non-conforming under the current code. Your house is absolutely fine the way it stands. If you want to continue to live in it, you don't have to do anything. But once you want to expand the size of your house by increasing the footprint and the volume, you need a variance. Now, you've not given us any information, so I'm presuming you have not filed a building permit application with the building commission.
Yeah, we have.
You have.
We have, but we haven't received a denial. This was back in June, I believe.
Well, I would have expected, had the building commission reviewed this, they would be saying the same things I'm telling you right now. So, Bob, are you aware of, I mean, it doesn't make any difference right now. We are where we are, but
So yeah, the building commission considered this permit application on 7/10, so July the 10th. And I'm not sure why the owners didn't receive a letter of denial, but it was felt to be a non-conforming lot because it was too small, and they were increasing volume.
and footprint based on these plans now. I don't know.
Yeah, we mentioned footprint, but I believe, and I may be wrong, but if you're non-conforming, maybe we've had this discussion before. Can you increase your footprint as long as you stay below 35%? I believe you can.
Right.
Okay. Then it's both. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
So the ordinance that's applicable to your project, based on what you've given us here, is 154, 134.
Okay.
We're asking for an increase in footprint, so you need to calculate the dimensions of extension out to the front of your house and the room on the side of your house, and volume, which is length times width times height. So you need to provide exact numbers for those two things in order for us to consider this matter. You guys got any other board member have any other comment on what we're looking at here? Ms. Canyor, go ahead.
As you're looking at your home, to the left, there's an outdoor shower that I don't see anywhere on your drawings.
That's not a permanent thing. There's no, it's just there, it's built. It's not attached to the house, it's just a storage of sorts at this point.
Isn't it?
It's a movable object is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and again, it's, if there is, and what's your point to that?
That's not included in the drawing.
Lot-wise, coverage-wise, but it doesn't really impact it.
We talk setback?
Yeah, it's side setback,
Well,
it looked to be right on the property line.
so we're not here considering that.
No.
It's something that
Right.
when this goes back before the building commission. The building commission is not going to grant a permit. There's encroaching on the side setback. So I'm not telling you whether there is or not here. I'm just, you're not asking for anything to do with setbacks. So I'm not opining at all about this, this shower thing on the side of your house. So, yeah, anybody else have any questions on this, the construction that they're doing here? So in addition to this covered porch, which is new construction on the front of your house, and this closet, which is new construction on the east side of your house, then you have then you have, I guess, behind that covered porch, it looks like you're calling it maybe a breakfast room and a foyer. That's remodeling of existing houses. Is that the way I should read this?
Yes.
So
that's existing footprint already.
Right. So these are all building commission issues, which they will deal with when they're looking at your permit application. So anybody have anything else here? Going off of our last conversation, I don't think we're in a position to set this for public hearing without having some more specifics. First of all, the correct zoning code and more specifics on volume and footprint, correct? Everybody agree? So I will ask for a motion to continue this preliminary hearing to our October 13th meeting for a second preliminary hearing at which the petitioners can file with the town clerk's office a revised request under the correct zoning code or anything else that they're seeking, and specifics as to the volume and footprint increase that they're asking a variance for. Okay, so as for a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Wick and Mr. Pearson will second that. Any discussion? The Horners, do you understand what we're asking you to provide?
Yes.
Okay, please file that.
Footprint and change of zoning.
Please file that with the town clerk's office 2 weeks prior to our October 13th meeting, as our rules provide. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, so that is passed 4-0. We will have you on our agenda for a preliminary hearing on October 13th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if everybody is prepared, we can move on with our last public preliminary hearing. That is Bill and Karen Loftus, 2600 Hermoine Trail, It is a developmental standard variance petition requesting variances from the requirements of Section 154.057, Schedule of District Regulations concerning side and rear setbacks, and Section 154.046A, permitted uses and structures, one single-family dwelling on a zoning lot. Petitioner is requesting to demolish and reconstruct an accessory structure with a second-story addition. And with that, our preliminary hearing is open. And who is here to speak on behalf of Loftus?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and BZA Commissioners. My name is Bill Loftus. This is my wife, Karen, and we'll be representing today ourselves on this petition.
Thank you. So I'll turn it over to you guys, and you can flesh out whatever else you want us to hear from you and about your project. We've got the documents you've submitted, so go ahead.
Excellent. Just by way of background, Karen and I purchased the property from the Beatty family in 2014. As far as I can tell, we're the fifth family to own the home. Dates back to 1922 or 23. I did some historical research on the garage itself. It appears that the garage originally contained a shed and a two-car garage. And where I think this property got sideways with the ordinance is when the carport was built, which I couldn't trace back. I think the Google Earth photos trace back 25 some odd years. But the carport really made the structure non-conforming to today's side and rear yard setbacks. Even the garage itself, technically by today's standards, I believe is an encroachment on the rear yard setback. For now, we're part-time residents of Long Beach. We currently reside in Glen Ellyn, Illinois. I want to just give a little description of the structure itself if you haven't driven by the house. It is, like I said, it's a 2.5 car garage with a carport. The garage has fallen into disrepair. It was in pretty bad shape when we bought the residence, and our focus has been on the preserving the beauty of the house right now over the last 4 years. Our formal request is we are asking to rebuild the structure in the same location, the same orientation of the main house. And the proposed structure would add a second story, what we call a granny loft. My mom lives in Beverly Shores. She's 85 years old. Karen's parents are both reside in Orland Park and in their late 70s and 80s. And so I'll just, I want to address, Mr. Chairman, your point about the development standard variance and the, I did answer question one, which was, will this property be in interest to public health, safety, and morals and general welfare because of the facts as shown. And I just wrote the proposed accessory structure will not increase traffic, noise, stormwater runoff, impede sight lines for the flow of air or light. Relocating the structure to be in conformance with the setbacks could impact the existing dune, the existing 20-inch oak in the driveway, and quite frankly, the structure itself would be closer to the existing historic home and my neighbor's property. My closest neighbor's property. Clearly, if I move it off the rear yard setback, it would be further from the home to the north. And then, I don't know if I think to me, maybe the easiest way to go about this, but I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman, is addressing the side and rear yard setbacks first, and then jumping to the question of the dwelling unit structure. Would you agree?
I guess I'd rather address the dwelling unit structure first.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add on that? Otherwise, we'll, if you're done, we have your petition and everything, so we understand what you're doing. So
perfect. Okay, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll turn this over to the board members for discussion. I felt it would be appropriate to raise the code section which limits one single family residence per zoning lot. And that's pretty clear, okay? So the question becomes, what is this that the petitioners are looking to construct, okay? And I look at the drawings that they submitted to us from from whoever this is.
Z+O architecture.
Plus O, right. Looking at these drawings here, and Above the garage would be it appears to be an apartment, if you will. A den, a kitchen, a bathroom, a bedroom, and all that goes with living quarters. Does anyone find a way that that's not a separate structure, separate living structure?
No, I mean, it is a separate living structure.
Is anybody on the board, I mean, we have, before us, parents, we have the ability to consider your situation and your points and so forth. But we have an ordinance, here's pretty clear, and we're not making a decision, this is only a preliminary hearing, but I wanted to address this first because if this is a significant problem, the project doesn't proceed, no matter what setback variances are and so forth.
Agreed. Mr. Chairman, if I may ask a clarification, because I tried to research. You're having this hard time with the sound as I am. I tried to research the definition of a dwelling unit. Can you help me understand the definition of a dwelling unit?
I guess that would be the definitions under zoning code, Mr. Mulkey. So it's a single family dwelling under 154.020 is a building on a separate lot containing one dwelling. So 154.046A says one single family dwelling on a zoning lot. The dwelling unit is a separate detached building designed for an residence by one family. So it appears that we have a living unit on this property, and you're looking to construct a second dwelling unit.
Well, I'm not. I'm looking to build an accessory structure, but this facility would not house cooking. It doesn't house a kitchen. I think it has cabinets. It has potentially a microwave. Doesn't have any other appliances. So I'm trying to figure out is it the bathroom or the fact that I'm adding a bedroom that would trigger a new dwelling unit?
Well, I'm looking at the drawing, and it's what's you've given to us, and this is what I propose. I presume this is what you're looking forward to going with. You have been to the building. You have a denial letter from the building commission.
Correct.
It certainly appears that we have a bathroom, kitchen, and den. So, I mean, you could say whatever you're saying. That's not what the picture shows, or what this drawing shows.
Well, I can pull the drawing out too. Let me just, I don't believe the kitchen shows any appliances. It shows, there's nothing in the kitchen. So
it's not, I'll grant you, it's not labeled clearly, but, and again, it's not labeled, so I'm having to improvise here, but Bob Linnaeus here is more familiar with drawings than I am, but it certainly appears that there's a stove, sink, and a couple other things there, so I don't know what this is.
There's a refrigerator.
The building commission obviously must have thought this is a dwelling.
A dwelling unit, they've got in 154.020 says a dwelling or portion of a dwelling used by one family for cooking, living, and.
So you have, no matter what we say here, and we're not making any thing, we're just having a discussion about this among ourselves. Okay, you have the right to request a variance, and that's what you're doing. But I want to discuss this one first, because this seems to be more germane to the entire project. I'm trying to understand why 15446A prevents you from enjoying your property. Because that's the standard you have to do. You have to determine that the building code, the zoning code, I should say, prevents you with practical difficulties from the use of your property.
Well, I can't argue that. I've got beautiful use of my property, and if that's the question, I would answer that. There's no way that I could answer that to support my case. My question is, 6 months ago, I was licensed to work in the state of Indiana as a professional engineer. If I were to resubmit this drawing on the second floor with a professional office for me and have a bathroom in there and eliminate the kitchen, does that constitute dwelling unit? Because that would be considered a professional service under your ordinance or your code. So the fact that I really want to be just honest and truthful, what constitutes the dwelling unit? If it's the kitchen, I'll eliminate it.
Well, I'll turn to Bob and Mayor. I mean, you're entitled to make improvements to your property and additions to your property and renovations to your property. You're entitled, Bob is speaking, stop me, you're entitled to, with building commission approval, you're entitled to add a bathroom, maybe work on your health issues, but we're not addressing that. You're entitled to add a bathroom. You're entitled to add a kitchen.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
There's many mics on in that den.
Somebody might back your computer, sir? Okay. All right, start again. I've said we have Bob LeMay here from the Building Commission, so I've asked him to jump in if I misstate something, but with Building Commission approval, a homeowner can renovate his property, can improve his property, can add a kitchen, can add a bathroom, can add a bedroom. You might need LaPorte County Department of Health issue. We're not talking about any of that, but you can do all those things within your structure. You can even, you might need a variance, but you can bump out your house, as we've already talked about today. So one petitioner wanted to go up with his house. The other petitioner wanted to go out with his house. So you can do all those things, but they're all attendant to the primary structure. What this is here, what you presented to us, is an accessory structure that you're looking to change into a dwelling unit. That's where 154-046A comes into play. So the burden you have are the three standards which you have to meet. The third one, is what you raised here. Well, does the zoning code prevent you with practical difficulties from enjoying your property? So, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do here, but there may very well be other ways for you to accomplish your objective within the confines of your property without putting up a separate structure. So.
Yeah, I looked at, all sorts of other items, Mr. Gorman, like connecting the structure to the main house. It just doesn't keep with the structure. It butchers the architecture. And I have not heard, I agree with you on all points. If this is viewed as a second dwelling unit, this project is dead on arrival. My question, which I've been trying to get answered since, basically May, is what's the definition? I couldn't find the definition of a dwelling unit in the ordinance. And I apologize if I missed it, but Is it the bathroom? Is it the kitchen? Because I don't think there's any other, if I eliminate those things, if I just showed you volume of space and I appealed to you for relief from the side rear yard setbacks, would we be having the same conversation? And I think that's a disingenuous way of presenting this case, because this is not what I intended to do. I'm not calling this storage or some, I'm just being totally upfront. As what I wanted to use it for was potentially an aging parent. I don't want them cooking in the facility. And you're absolutely right. I looked on the drawings I submitted. There appears to be a cooktop that's depicted on there. I can eliminate all that, but I just need a definition.
Well, Chris, can you help me out here? I mean, I've already read the definition. The definition code in 54020 for a dwelling unit, and I think Mr. Jurczyk read this, is a separate detached building designed for and occupied exclusively as a residence by one family and used by one family for cooking, living, and sleeping purposes.
Right. So if I change it to an office, eliminate the bedroom and eliminate the kitchen, then it wouldn't meet the definition of a dwelling unit. And how would this conversation change?
That sounds right. How would this conversation change? You wouldn't be putting up a separate residence.
Okay.
You would just be looking for, but I should say, your conversation about what you can use it for as a living unit. Okay, so you've said it's living, plans show living unit. And now you're saying, well, I just won't call it. Well, that's all up to you. I'm not here. But yeah, if you change your plans and you say, I'm not in this garage and I want to rehab it and I want to do whatever, the building commission might say, still might be worth it. I don't know.
Well, I would prefer to use it as a bedroom and a bathroom and eliminate the kitchen, if that puts me under the dwelling unit discussion. But if I have to move my office out of the main house and put it above the garage so I free up space in the main house, then I'll do that as well. So I have some flexibility.
Chris, do you have any reaction to this proposal?
I think the only other thing he needs to keep in mind is that they need to read it or in conjunction with the definition of accessory building as well. And it needs to be incidental and associated with the main dwelling.
Which, if you have the garage and you put an office up on top of it, that's incidental?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a closer argument than right now. There's two dwelling units that are proposed.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, as Mr. Wilby points out, it has to be a use incidental to the primary structure.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. I understand. I will revise my plans accordingly and resubmit.
Okay. Are you going to be prepared to do that in 2 weeks when you have to file this with us, or would you like more time? And I'm only asking because if we set this for a preliminary hearing in October, you need to file revised petition and drawings and so forth.
I think I can do it in the 2 weeks you've allotted me. I've already done my research as far as the homes within 300 feet, and I've got that research done. I've got those lists, so I'm prepared with the rest of the petition. I just have to get my architect to change drawings.
Right. So then now you are asking for, apart from that, you are asking, and you have to, I would ask you to submit a revised petition, because if you're changing what you're asking for, you're no longer asking for a variance from 154-146.
Well, my denial letter from the building department, it said, the proposed building appears to violate the limitation of one single family dwelling unit per zoning per lot 154.046. So then I wonder if that petition, okay, I'll revise the petition, Mr. Gorman. I will do that.
You would also, I would suggest, you've asked for setback variances.
Yeah.
I can't tell what you're asking for. I don't know if anybody else here is any clearer on this. I just don't follow. You don't give me specific requests. You don't say front, side, this amount, that amount, and I can't. These burdens are on you. It's not for me to try to figure this out.
I understand. In my cover letter of July 24, it does say the carport portion of the existing structure encroaches on the 15-yard setback. The carport's northeast corner, 6.55 feet, at southwest corner, 8.56 from the property line.
Well, let me stop you there. Your property is in R1.
Yes.
R1 is a 10-foot side setback, not 15.
Even better.
Well, but this points out that who's ever advising you, or if you're reading it yourself, you need to make sure you're looking at the correct documentation. And then this next, as that paragraph continues on in the letter you referenced.
Yes.
About 5 or 6 lines down from the top, you say the rear yard setback assumed to be 15 feet.
Right. I didn't pull the old subdivision.
Well, rear yard setback is 20 feet. Your R1 property under Appendix A of the zoning code, rear yard setback is 20 feet.
Is that for an accessory structure?
Chris, it's for everything, right?
I'm using Appendix A, which is
Side rear yard setbacks. And the petitioner asked the question, does this apply to an accessory structure? Yes. Yes. With that, let me go to, because this is relevant to this confusion here about what amount of setback is. You're getting this plan a survey that you all that was done by Spaceco Inc. in Rosemont, Illinois on April 18th, 2020.
Yeah.
They go around the whole property and everywhere this is a 15-foot building. There is no 15-foot building in Long Beach.
Here, hold on. I've got another survey as well, which is part of the deed.
Whoever did this survey is incorrect.
And I don't know if this was called out by the building commission or what.
No, it wasn't. Who with staff can I work with to get some of these clarifications so I don't take up all the time of the BZA?
Bob, who would you contact for some information?
In the building commission area?
Best person stuff is Larry Wall.
Mr. Larry Wall, who is the building commission. Can you be contacted through town hall?
I think his number is listed on the website.
Oh, his number on the website.
Okay. Yeah, so it's Appendix A. The setbacks are listed in Appendix A of the zoning code. So you need to make sure you're looking at the correct document.
Yeah, I've got it in front of me.
And just for
clarity, so we're not further confused. I'm not talking about what you put into your petition that you call Appendix A town schedule of zoning regulations. That's not Long Beach's Schedule A. I don't know what this is from.
What? You mean BZA document 1?
No, what you attach to a BZA 1, and unless this is just out of order, you attach to that an Appendix A.
Yeah.
Yes, this is not Long Beach's Schedule A.
That's exactly what came out of the application I was given.
No, I'm afraid not, sir. So I would suggest you go to the town website, right, Bob, under zoning ordinances and dialogues, Appendix A. And if you need any further clarification, you have to deny the letter from Larry Wall, so Larry Wall will be the one you contact. You have his email address, and it's on there, deny the letter.
Well, if I could just, I apologize for that confusion. If Meg Collins, who's been very helpful, is on the call, if she could send me the correct Appendix A, that would be great. She's been super helpful in getting me to this point.
Well, I think the burden, I'm going to put the burden back on you, not on the BZA. provide you with the documents of the zoning code. Zoning code is on the town website. If you have questions, you've been before the building commission, contact Larry Wall and make sure you're using the correct setbacks. Because when you come back to us for the next preliminary hearing, you will need to provide us with the specific setback variances that you're seeking. Mr. Wall in his denial letter raised the issue of height. I'm not telling you you have an issue of height, I'm just saying he thought you did, so you might want to resolve that.
I think we resolved that.
About 60, he thinks that's resolved, so okay.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Thank you very much.
With that, you would file with the clerk's office 2 weeks prior to the October 13th meeting.
Okay.
Petition and amended drawings.
Okay.
So with that, I'll ask for a motion to set the office petition for a second preliminary hearing at our October 13th meeting. Motion by Mr. Jurassic. Second by Ms. Keenan. All in favor?
Aye.
4 in favor, none opposed. So this is set for October 13th. So we will see you again on October 13th.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Tanya, second by Mr. Wickstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Motion meeting adjourned. Was it 10 after 8?
8:08. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, Bob.